So how do we know when opportunity comes knocking? Well, the whole idea with opportunity is that we don't know when it's going to come knocking. But for sure, when we go off track, we avoid the opportunities and we walk away and shy away and build a wall between us and the opportunities that we're always waiting for and looking for. I woke up in Dublin City one morning when I lived there. I was in my very early 20s and it had snowed really, really heavily overnight. When I woke up the next morning, my car was outside the front driveway and my dad's car was in the driveway, and both cars were covered in snow, and the road outside was covered in snow as well, so not many people were out driving. So we got up for work and to go to work and do the things that we have to do, myself and my dad. So I helped my dad dig his car out of the driveway and we got his car out. We started to dig my car out, which was on the side of the road, just to give it a pathway into the road. As we did, just down the road from me, we could hear a car coming down the street, and there was nobody driving that morning. But this car was coming down. There was only 1 or 2 cars per every minute or two. And this car started to skid coming down towards myself and my dad. So myself and my dad stood back, and the car was going quite slow, but it was still skidding. The brakes were on, and the guy driving it was nervous. And the car came straight down and banged right into my car and damaged it so much so that it couldn't be driven. So I decided to go back to bed. And my dad said to me, "Don't go back to bed, son. You got to do what you got to do." So to go to work meant I had to go to the bus stop, stand at the bus stop and get a bus and go through all of that through the city and everything that you got to do. But I listened to my dad and I decided I got to go to work because I got to do what I got to do. So I went into my house, I put on my big heavy wool socks, we put plastic bags over our feet. That stops the snow. If the snow gets into your boot, it stops the water, the snow turning to water and touching your toes, to walk to the bus stop. I got to the bus stop, and by the time I got to the bus stop, I still had 8 or 10 hours of travel and work ahead of me. By the time I made it to the bus stop, the snow had got into my boot, it had got through the bag, or whatever way it had done that, and got into the bag, and the snow had now melted and was on my toes. Now, when your toes are cold, you're in pain in your feet for the whole day. So I went through that whole day. But I stood at that bus stop, and I had a moment to reflect on who I am, where I am, and what I truly want as I waited for the bus to come, because now the buses were affected, so I had to wait a long time. And in standing at that bus stop, I made a decision that I was never, ever, ever going to spend my day living in Ireland. So I made a decision to leave Ireland, standing at that bus stop. So, about a year later, I found myself in the States, the US of A, and then I left the US of A, and then just a short period of time later, not too long, I found myself in Australia. So now I'm in Australia. Within a year after I arrived in Australia, my parents and my brothers decided, well, they're going to emigrate too. Straight after that, my cousin emigrated. Then my aunt and uncle emigrated, and I sponsored them in. Then my other uncle emigrated. Now my brothers are married and have children. Now my aunt and my cousins have all been remarried or have separate families, and my cousins have got married and they have kids. And I've got kids. And their kids are about to have kids. So in other words, a whole generation of people are now living in the country, the best country on this planet, Australia. All because one day a man stood at a bus stop and got snow in his boot and decided to do what he had to do anyway. Had I gone back to bed that day and not gone to work, I would never have had that awakening moment, and that opportunity that I always was within me to create would never have found the inspiration, and the inspiration happened when I went through the pain of doing what I had to do anyway. And that's when your life changes. It's when you do what you have to do anyway, even though it doesn't seem to resonate with your heart, but in your body and soul connection, you know that you have to do it. And that's where your opportunities are waiting for you.